Every civilization that has ever existed has tried to answer the same question. What happens when you die? Thousands of years of human belief have produced answers that range from eternal paradise to endless torment to being judged by a god with the head of a jackal. Some of these afterlives promise reward. Others promise something far worse. These are the afterlives of every major world religion, and some of them are far stranger than anything you were taught in school. We begin in ancient Egypt because no civilization was more obsessed with death. When an Egyptian died, their soul entered the Duat, a vast underworld filled with serpents, lakes of fire, and gods who demanded answers at every gate. You had to recite the correct words at each passage or be destroyed on the spot. If you survived, you reached the Hall of Ma'at, where the jackal-headed god Anubis placed your heart on a golden scale. On the other side sat a single feather, the feather of truth. If your heart was lighter, you passed into the field of reeds, a perfect eternal version of Egypt, where the crops always grew and the sun never stopped shining. But if your heart was heavier, a creature called Amit was waiting. She had the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. She ate your heart, and you ceased to exist. Not hell, not punishment, just nothing. You were erased from eternity. In ancient Greece, the god Hermes escorted your soul to the river Styx, where a ferryman named Charon waited. You had to pay him a coin to cross, which is why the Greeks buried their dead with a coin in their mouth. If you couldn't pay, you wandered the riverbank forever. Most souls ended up in the Asphodel Meadows, a grey and joyless plain where nothing happened and nothing changed. Heroes might reach Elysium, a paradise of endless sunlight and peace. But those who wronged the gods were sent to Tartarus, a pit so deep it was as far below Hades as the earth is below the sky. That's where Prometheus was chained, while an eagle ate his liver every day. That's where Sisyphus pushed his boulder for eternity. Tartarus wasn't just punishment, it was designed to make sure you never stopped suffering. The Norse afterlife depended entirely on how you died. Fall in battle and the Valkyries, armoured women who rode across battlefields, might carry your soul to Valhalla, Odin's great hall, where you'd feast every night and fight every day, training for Ragnarok, the final battle at the end of the world. The goddess Freya also claimed fallen warriors for her own hall called Folkvanger, though no one knows how she chose. Die of sickness or old age, and you went to Hell, a cold, dark realm ruled by a goddess whose body was half living flesh and half rotting corpse. It wasn't torture, but it was bleak, and there was no way out. Christianity divides the afterlife into two destinations, sometimes three. Heaven is eternal peace in the presence of God, promised to those who lived according to faith. Hell is eternal separation from God, often described as a lake of unquenchable fire where suffering never ends. The Catholic tradition adds purgatory, a middle state where souls are purified of remaining sins before entering heaven. The Book of Revelation describes a final judgment where every soul is raised and sorted permanently. Your eternity is decided once, and it lasts forever. Islam describes the afterlife in vivid physical detail. When you die, two angels named Munkar and Nakir visit your grave and question you about your faith. Your answers determine whether your time in the grave is peaceful or agonizing, because in Islam, the waiting period between death and judgment is its own experience. On the Day of Judgment, every human who ever lived is resurrected, and your deeds are weighed on a literal scale. Those who pass must cross the Sirat, a bridge over hellfire thinner than a hair and sharper than a sword. The righteous cross in seconds, the wicked fall. Paradise, called Jannah, is described as gardens with rivers of milk and honey. Jahannam, the Islamic hell, has 7 descending layers, each one worse than the last. Hinduism doesn't have one afterlife. It has millions. When you die, your soul leaves your body and enters a new one. What you come back as depends on karma, the accumulated weight of every action across every lifetime. Good karma brings a better life. Bad karma could send you back as an animal or into suffering. The goal is not heaven, it's escape. That escape is called moksha, the liberation of the soul from rebirth, emerging with universal consciousness. Until you reach it, you keep dying and coming back, over and over, for as long as it takes. Buddhism borrowed rebirth from Hinduism, but stripped away the permanent soul. Your consciousness flows forward like a flame passed from one candle to the next. The candle changes, but the fire continues. The goal is nirvana, the point where craving stops and the cycle of suffering ends. The Buddha described it not as a place you go, but as something you realize. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest religions still practiced today, and it may have invented the concept of individual judgment after death. When a Zoroastrian dies, their soul waits 3 days beside the body. On the 4th day, it travels to the Chinvat Bridge, the bridge of the requitor. If the person lived a righteous life, the bridge appears wide and easy to cross, and a beautiful woman representing their good deeds guides them into the house of song. If they lived in wickedness, the bridge narrows to the width of a razor blade, and a hideous figure meets them as they fall into darkness. Scholars believe this concept directly influenced both Christianity and Islam. The idea of crossing a bridge to paradise, or falling into punishment, may trace back to this single ancient Persian religion. The Aztec afterlife had nothing to do with how you lived. What mattered was how you died. Warriors who fell in battle and women who died in childbirth accompanied the sun across the sky. Those who drowned went to Tlalocan, a paradise ruled by the rain god. But most people travelled to Mictlan, a 9-level underworld ruled by the skeletal god Mictlan. The journey took 4 years. You crossed rivers of blood, passed through mountains that crashed together, and faced winds filled with obsidian knives. There was no reward at the end. After 4 years of struggle, your soul simply dissolved. The Aztecs didn't promise paradise for ordinary people. They promised effort, then oblivion. Every culture that has ever looked at death came back with a different answer. Some promised reward, some promised punishment, some promised nothing at all. But all of them agreed on one thing, that what you do while you're alive matters, even if they could never agree on why. Subscribe if you want to see every underworld in mythology explained next. And tell me in the comments which afterlife you found the most terrifying. I'll see you in that video.